Hey everyone, good to see you again. Today I will be making a reaction video about Fox 9's story about the title of the video called College Student Sues After Being Expelled, Accused of Using ChatGPT on Exam. So my before I begin this video, I would like to say that ChatGPT is such a useful tool. There's absolutely nothing wrong with using it, but it comes down to one thing, mindfulness. How is someone using it? And I want to be clear with everybody. I think at this point, everyone is using it. I think everyone's become familiarized with it or acquainted with it at some form. It's all around us. The question is, how do we use it now? I don't think it's so much of how do we stop it. We're using technology. Technology is meant to make life convenient, easier for us. And don't get the wrong idea. Life has its challenges already. However, with technology, especially ChatGPT, it has made life more convenient, more able to find sources and information. But I will demonstrate that as this video is playing along. But here I will begin the video and show you guys what this case is all about. It's very serious, but I want to hear your thoughts about it, and I'll make my reactions as we go.
Remembered for so much. Thank you, Tim.
A former student at the University of Minnesota is now suing the school and a professor after he was expelled for allegedly using ChatGPT in a final paper.
The international student lost his visa over the matter and is currently in Africa. Fox 9's Karen Scullin spoke with him via Zoom and joins us live on what has become pretty controversial, Karen.
Right. Haishan Yang has an undergrad degree from a Chinese university in English and French, a master's in economics from Central European University in Budapest, a PhD from Utah State in economics, and
Impressive.
he was working on a PhD from the U of M in health services research.
That's a studious and hardworking student.
To do when his professor accused him of cheating with ChatGPT on an exam, which he 100% denies.
Okay, let's look at that for a moment. Accused. All right. When you're going to accuse someone, you need to make sure you have evidence. You cannot just say that person, touched me inappropriately. Okay, where's the evidence of that? Most cases, there won't be video evidence. There won't be pictures. There won't be anything. We rely, especially when you work in a company, you have to rely on documentation because recording and even I'm talking about audio recording or even recording like video recording, they're usually not allowed without the permission of another person. When you're out in public, there's security cameras. When you're going to, let's say, public schools, there's cameras all around the public schools, which there should be because of for the public safety. It is a public university or public college. There's stores, they need cameras, right? And of course, us being citizens or your general people on and about on the streets, you can record anytime out in public, right? But and then there's also different means of being credible. Were there witnesses? Can they testify for you? Can they prove that you were touched? Right? So sometimes a single person, it's hard to assess those cases. However, in this kind of case, a teacher is claiming and is accusing the student of using ChatGPT. And I want to start off from the beginning, guys, that it's hard to tell when someone's using ChatGPT. It is extremely difficult. For those of you that have used ChatGPT, you'll come to know that you can use ChatGPT to write in different forms. You can have it write like an 11th grader, as a professor, as a professional, right? You can adjust it to write in those kinds of modes. And not just that. Let's just say two students are writing on the similar topic. Well, if they both use ChatGPT, ChatGPT will produce two different wordings, two different writing styles, and probably even using two different sources. So I just wanted to say that up front, it's hard to accuse someone using ChatGPT. The only time you can catch people using plagiarism, for example, is when they don't cite their sources. Doesn't matter what form of writing, if you got the source somewhere and you don't cite it, that's officially plagiarism. However, accusing someone of using ChatGPT, now that is difficult. It's like everyone's using social media. You can't tell someone not to use social media. You can't accuse them of using social media Just because I say everyone's using it doesn't mean that they are and they're not. We don't know that. It's not our information to know to begin with. But the point is, we can't just accuse people of using something when we don't have hard evidence. Did you go on the person's computer? Well, now you're trespassing their boundaries. That's personal space right there and personal belongings. Did you watch them use ChatGPT? And keep in mind, guys, this was on an exam, from my understanding. So, an exam, was it a take-home exam? Was it a online exam? Was it in-person exam? Well, let's see.
It can be a useful tool, but teachers and professors also know ChatGPT can be used to cheat, using words of artificial intelligence instead of the student's own words.
Let me ask you just straight up. Did you cheat? Did you use ChatGPT in any way?
No, I did not use ChatGPT in exam.
Haishan Yang was working on getting his
Boom,
doctorate in
short and
Health
simple.
Services Research and Policy Administration at the University of Minnesota when Professor Hannah Neprash accused him of cheating on an exam by using
No, they even give the
ChatGPT.
teacher's
I
name.
was told that you failed exam because I failed exam because they suspect I used ChatGPT in exam, and ChatGPT is not allowed.
Yang's case went before the use
So it's not allowed to use ChatGPT. So I'm going to assume that it was an in-person exam. Well, if it's not allowed and he didn't have it up in hand, well, then what's going on here? That makes no sense. That's a very powerful accusation. You remember, everyone, that take this as a lesson, but we're all, even in our everyday conversations with our friends and people, it's easy to say stuff. It's easy to say, hey, my friend is stupid, or yeah, that person's always late. Yeah, it's always interesting that we can say these things, but at the end of the day, they are opinions, and at most they are claims, right? The other person doesn't know. Now, this doesn't mean that the person is disingenuous. This doesn't mean that the person's dishonest for making claims, right? Maybe that person knows that person more than another. And of course, if your friends trust you, they're gonna believe your word. Like if you say to a friend, hey, going to that restaurant, don't go there. Their waiting is long. Well, that person doesn't know, but because they trust you, they can believe in you. But in truth, when it comes to human experiences, we won't know. That person won't know until they go to the restaurant and they learn that, wow, he was right. The lines are really long, right? The point I'm trying to say is that making an accusation about ChatGPT, right? You can have your own personal ideas about it, but at the end of the day, no one knows. No one knows. You don't look at people's phones. You don't take their phones from their hand and look through their apps and see that ChatGPT is one of them, or their computers. We don't do that. Now, as a teacher, I will say that I have speculated people using ChatGPT. Now I say speculative, right? Meaning that I had no hard evidence, but I also made a decision, right, as a teacher, that I'm not going to be focusing if they use ChatGPT. What I'm focusing on is if they're citing their sources. Are they learning about the subject? Are they reading about it? And please don't disregard ChatGPT. It's a wonderful tool. For example, if you have a rough idea, you can use ChatGPT, write down your rough idea, and then you can ask ChatGPT to polish it, to edit it. It's no different as if without ChatGPT, you would be editing your own work. You will be refining your words and your sentences and the structure of it to make it more clear and good, well written, right? It's no different what ChatGPT can do. So I want to keep in mind that as I have speculated, I never just straight up went to one student and accused them of that saying. I have it in mind. I can go off forward saying, hey, you did this and that. But at the end of the day, I don't know that. So it's very good to just stand back and just see how people use it, right? Do they read their own information? Do they write their own information? We don't know. But that being said, I am not disregarding that there are some students that do use Chat GPT, right? GPT, and just let it do all the writing for you. I get that. I see that. Okay. But at the end of the day, we still don't know that. So now a teacher, a faculty, an official from the school has claimed and accused that the student, Dr. Yang, is using ChatGPT. So, with that being said, let's see how this progresses.
Campus Committee on Student Behavior who upheld the professor's findings,
We
and
support her.
ultimately he was expelled. But in addition to denying using AI, Yang says you can't prove it because it's like using Google. You will get different answers every time you
Correct.
ask ChatGPT the same question.
I tried myself. I put the question to the ChatGPT. I generate 10 times, and it's so different. So it's not possible to replicate what's the evidence. So my initial reaction to this kind of evidence is that this should be never been used against any student using this method.
Absolutely. Again, ChatGPT is no different than Google. It is, but now Google has integrated AI in it of itself. So he's correct to say that now, right? This event occurred yesterday. This news highlighted its case yesterday, but it's so powerful, and I mean that in the sense that you cannot claim that someone used ChatGPT. You don't know. Nobody does. You can sit in a classroom of 30, 40, 50, even 100 students, and you won't know. But the real question is, do you invest your time figuring out who those students are? This, again, is my opinion, but it sounds like this teacher was out to get him. It's just my opinion. Again, the case type is defamation, as we see here, is that the idea is that the plaintiff, the defendant, which is the professor, Hannah Nepresh, is out to get Dr. Yang. And for defamation, this is true, because true in what this case is resulting in. This case is resulting in that the school and other people, I don't know, maybe other professionals, are now seeing Dr. Yang, and now I'm not saying everybody, but they're now seeing Dr. Yang as a cheater. That's defamation. Now he has to carry that word, the cheater, along in his professions. That's defamation. You're ruining his reputation. And so he's going on with this case and even submitting it to the district court as a case against the defendant. And I think this is powerful because it's showing that he's here to defend himself, but you also cannot prove that any given information is from ChatGPT. It's almost impossible. What matters in any teacher's point of view, I like to believe, is that if the student is citing their sources, if they are writing well and clearly, but when it comes to accusations, you need to have hard evidence. And look here.
Defamation.
The altered evidence was a key factor in the recommendation to expel the plaintiff, causing reputational harm. So that is to his credibility, his professional life. Emotional distress, of course. Imagine you've been accused of something. It does give you a lot of emotional distress and significant disruption to the plaintiff's academic and professional trajectory. Yes, he has to carry that. That's a heavy load of issues right there. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, where's your evidence? We would like to see your evidence on this case. I think Dr. Yang has a good case because you can't prove that it's from ChatGPT. It's very difficult, very difficult. And I honestly am a firm believer that today's tools to catch plagiarism, such as turnitin.com, I think they don't do so well catching AI written works. They can claim it does, but at the end of the day, it's like if you're citing your sources, then you're perfectly well. You're perfectly fine.
Lawsuit filed in state court, Yang accuses the professor of submitting altered, possibly modified evidence to the university committee that upheld the professor's findings. However, a forensic analyst at Seattle University that Yang hired to check the findings found that several things had been, in fact.
Oof. See? You see that? He's able to prove his own writing. He's able to show that some of his information has been changed. What does that tell you? That tells you that she has been coming in and changing this. Now, again, I want to say that's what the evidence he's showing here looks like. But I don't know if she really has, and I don't know if he has. We don't know anything. The fact of the matter is, this isn't our case. However, this is establishing a wonderful conversation about ChatGPT and its usage. In this case, this teacher has something out to get him. And the fact is that he sought out a second opinion, another professional, to look at the evidence. And that other professional is also claiming that the information was changed. That means that the teacher herself was changing the information to fit her argument and their decisions of the school. This is how do I say this? Something that comes into mind. It's kind of a little off topic, but it kind of reminds me of like HR, for example, right? You think that HR is your friend at any company or any setting. You think HR, human resources, is your friend. They're not your friends because HR is more interested on making peace. Like everything's working well, everything is in order, right? But if you have a complaint and your complaint, you take it up to the HR. Now you have a target on your back because the HR is more aligned in the interest of the company. They're not aligned with you. If your case comes to legal matters, that's a different story. Those are protective laws. Like there's a need of protecting a complaint, especially when it's retaliation and then leaving paper trails, etc. Right? The point I'm trying to say is that the HR's interest is to the company, the school, the employer. It's to their interest. They're going to do everything to keep them out of litigations, legal issues, right? The same thing is said about this case with the professor. She is protecting her own interests and the reputation of the school. And even the committee that reviewed Dr. Yang's exam are there for the interest of the school, similarly to HR. Is this an appropriate action? Absolutely. Protect yourself. But now they're altering evidence. Now that's a even more different story. It sounds like Dr. Yang has a case here. And the fact that he's showing his exam here, right? And then he's able to show that it has been altered. That's a case. That's definitely defamation here. And it sounds like it's very direct. And an opinion about this, I would say, maybe just a thought, actually. But why is this teacher aiming at him? Is it possible that she felt a bit jealous? Again, this is speculative. Please don't bear this heavily, but this is purely speculative. But think about it. Do you think she might be jealous that Dr. Yang is a doctor? Is the fact that he already has one PhD and he's about to get another? Maybe Dr. Yang is very intelligent and this teacher felt insecure. I don't know. I'm just drawing some speculation and why Dr. Yang was the one aimed and not anyone else, right? For him to be accused of using the software of ChatGPT is serious. So we'll see how this progresses still.
Changed. Yang's advisor, Brian Dowd, who has been on faculty with the U for 45 years, strongly supports Yang and says there's not strong evidence to prove he cheated. In Dowd's appeal support letter to the U, it says in part, absent that evidence, I would conclude that the student and ChatGPT drew from the same source material and there was no scholastic dishonesty.
Oh, you see that? There is no evidence. At this very moment, she simply just accused him with no evidence, as given based on this story and this information provided. There is no evidence that he is using ChatGPT. That's serious, everyone. That's so serious because we come back down to the ideas of accusation. You cannot accuse someone without evidence. And when you don't have that evidence, you're going to get in trouble. And now he has this, along with the second professional's point of view, It sounds like he has a really good case. I'm not going to deny that. I'm a firm believer that Dr. Yang has a very good case right now.
Honesty. Dowd also says Dr. Yang is the best read student I have encountered in my time on the University of Minnesota faculty. Now Yang fears his life is forever changed.
My career is the trajectory is dramatically changed. I still have to figure out.
Furthermore, some more strong words from Brian Dowd's appeal support letter. He says, my final point concerns the treatment of Dr. Yang by faculty in our division. This is not the first attempt to expel Dr. Yang from our program. An earlier attempt resulted in the division writing Dr. Yang a letter of apology and university attorneys requesting an assurance from Dr. Yang that he would not sue the university. In over 4 decades in our division, I have never seen this level of animosity directed at a student. I have no explanation for that animosity. Yeah.
All right, let's be honest about that information just said. First of all, I highly encourage Dr. Yang to pursue legal matters. You cannot just fire the teacher and say, oh, all is well. No. The fact of the matter is, this is out in the open. By having this case go all the way where he's suing the school or the professor, Dr. Hannah, I forgot her last name, but suing the school will further prove his credibility that he did not cheat. And with that being said, I think that's important that when that case is out and the results are out, it just tags along to his credibility that, wow, he won this case. That means he proved this case. That means he wasn't this cheater. So I highly suggest, in terms of his professional point of view or his professional credibility, that he needs to do this case. Go all the way with it. Go all the way with it. Not for my sake or anyone else's, but for his own. This is his own professional career. So, and not just that, you kind of have to give it to them because they already threw him under the bus and supported the teacher for claiming that. So go all the way with it. Sue the school, and get the money that you've earned based on this. Because let me tell you guys about the emotional aspects of this, but it's heavy. If you are ever accused of something and you know you didn't do it, it's a heavy emotional toll. And for Dr. Yang, this is like serious. This is like hardworking. This is his PhD, his second PhD. That's impressive. And again, as a teacher myself, I've taught for more than 6 years, but I've never had animosity towards students. I felt annoyed with them at times. I've been sad with some of them at times. Like, I'm human. We're going to feel emotions. But I've never targeted a student to make chances for them seem unfair. And I think that I would like to believe every teacher does that. But in my own experience as a student, I've had teachers who made me feel that they were targeting me. And some of them were overt and some of them were covert, right? And I get Dr. Yang and the fact that what's his name? The the name of the professor that's supporting him.
Yang is saying, I've never seen this.
Brian Dowd, for example, is also acknowledging the animosity that's occurring here. That means that there's some groups of teachers that don't like him. And we don't know why. We don't know if he's created some kind of turmoil with some of the teachers. We don't know what he said, what he's done, and we don't know what the teachers have said and what they've done. We don't know anything. But for the fact that a faculty, a professor from the University of what is it, Minnesota, for example, for the fact to support Dr. Yang and acknowledge this is very serious. It means that the school in of itself is in division. And someone got a little emotional and accused a student of using ChatGPT. That's not good. That's not good at all. And he needs to go forward and sue the school. No, like not every teacher's perfect, everyone. And I, being myself a teacher, I'm not saying that every class has been well. However, how do we treat students? We are taught to, have a statement of connection of, basically, that didn't make any sense. But what I'm trying to say is that we're talking about inclusion here. We're talking about how do we treat students? How do we make them look more than an ID number? How do we make them look more of that title of a student? Well, we bring in their collective experiences. We acknowledge their cultural differences. And ultimately, in a class setting, we provide them opportunities. We simplify information. We give them a chance to excel in their own abilities to make them independent learners. So that's my value as a teacher. However, what you learned in therapy is that not everyone's handling their lives well. There are many teachers, like in any profession, as a matter of fact, in any profession, there are those who are teaching well, and there are those who are not teaching well. There are those who have self control, and there are those who lose control. It's that saying that there's bad teachers and good teachers. This is true. And so I think what Dr. Yang was dealing with are bad teachers, teachers who don't support him aside from Brian Dowd. And I'm sure other professors support him. Brian Dowd is helping Dr. Yang and providing support and being like testifying for his abilities. But then you have the other teachers that are accusing him of cheating. This is not good. This is not good. And again, they don't know that he used that program. They don't know anything. You can't, and if you're in my seat, everyone, if you're teaching and if you're grading students' papers, you can speculate that they're cheating, but you won't know either. And I'm not going to go and ask them, hey, do you use it? Because they could just say no, and that's it. And imagine if I go forward with one of the students and say, no, I believe you are using ChatGPT. Okay, let's go forward, have the investigation, have the committee meeting, and stuff like that. And it might not turn out the way I wanted to because I started off without evidence. And that's going to end pretty bad for me. I might even lose my job. I wouldn't even blame the school for firing me. But again, this is just a hypothetical situation, but one can imagine how far you will go just by accusing someone.
Level of animosity directed at a student. I have no explanation for that animosity. Yang is seeking $660,000 in defamation payments from the professor and to be reinstated by the university. The university said they couldn't comment in detail except to say that appropriate actions were taken in this matter. In the newsroom, Karen Scullen.
So the fact that they can't provide details is because they don't have any evidence. They don't have any evidence. You would think that someone would clear their name, but it's because they don't have any evidence. And then again, this is just speculation. Maybe they have something. Maybe they're trying to create evidence, But like I said, I think about like HR, for example. Like HR is not your friend. HR in the beginning will claim that they're your friend, like teachers. You're welcome. There's orientation. There's the teachers will get to know you. But over time, when some big issue happens, the HR typically won't be on your side. They're on the employer side because the employer is paying them and their interest is protecting the employer from getting into legal issues. Similarly, when it comes to teachers care about their own interests. They care about the school. They care about the school because the school's paying them money. So they're going to protect their reputation. And at times, maybe both sides would lie. They'll falsify documents. They'll erase documents and say, well, we don't have this document, right? So what I'm trying to say is that this school is looking out for its own interests. And the fact that they don't want to comment on law is because there's something there. There's definitely something there. And for Dr. Yang to push this out into the news, this is a serious case because this is going to be controversial. This is going to call into question the ethics of ChatGPT, also of teaching. It's also exposing if the teacher is one that lacks control, is emotional, and targets students and accuses them. It's going to call out to the integrity of the teachers as well, and it should, right? Because again, everyone uses Facebook. Everyone uses, well, I shouldn't say everyone, but you get what I'm trying to say. When we use social media apps, everyone's using them. Everyone's using some form of it. Everyone uses other apps, right? ChatGPT is no different. Everyone can use it, and there's nothing wrong with it. Do you cite your sources? Are you using it mindfully? These are important questions to ask. But Dr. Yang has a case here, and I think he should go all the way in suing the school because this is defamation 100%. Um, I can't say retaliation here, but it definitely is defamation. And the fact that he's able to get a second person to provide support, this is already showing he has a case. And so I firmly believe, without a doubt, that he's going to win this case if he takes it up to the court. And he already is. He already has. He already submitted it to the court district. So that's going to be something. And I would like to see the end result of this case. Um, that aside, in terms of the video, I would like to say to everyone that ChatGPT is an awesome tool. Give it a shot. It definitely is worthwhile using. And in terms of those who are using it for academics purposes, yeah, I think it's a wonderful tool. As a teacher myself, I highly encourage people to use it. I encourage people to go forward and learn from it, read from it, learn how to write from it, you know, and it's a great tool. But at the end of the day, here's the question: how do you want to use it? And to what ends do you use it for? Are you mindful or not? And I think I'll leave you guys with that question. Thank you, everyone.